Hi, I'm Roberto Martinez and you're watching Toffee TV.
Welcome back to Toffee TV. We're here with the Bleacher Report Team Stream app. I'm Peter McPartland. This is a slightly injured Barry Cass. What have I told you about paintballing? It's an old fad. Just leave it. Stop it now. Stop it now. We're here today to talk about the transfer window. It is firmly shut now. It's shut on Monday night at 11 o'clock UK time. And it's a strange one because a lot of Evertonians are disappointed by transfer deadline day. It's a strange phenomenon because a lot of fans, if you don't buy on the actual day itself, they get really frustrated. And we're here to talk about the whole of the transfer window because from where we're sitting, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it's been transfer deadline day's been hyped up into seemingly being the only important day of the 8 weeks window that it's open for. A certain broadcaster has turned it into this day. People wear yellow ties. One of the presenters gets given his own official day, and everyone has bought into it, and thus it's created this kind of frenzy on that day, hasn't it? And I think a lot of people, what tends to happen now is whatever else you've done before that, you kind of seem to get judged by that final day, rightly or wrongly. Now,
it's okay saying that, and it's okay saying Sky Sports created this frenzy, Sky Sports News. They may have created this frenzy amongst fans, but clubs have always had a long-standing history of buying on the last day of the window since the window's been open, or certainly when the window wasn't open, there was always a transfer deadline cut off in March for the end of the season. So why do you think it is that teams leave it to the last minute? What motivates them to not get transfers done early and not bring in the players they want and leave it so late and get into situations that really they don't want to be in?
Availability, isn't it? At the end of the day, I mean, a lot of clubs will, if you're selling a player or you've got a player on your books that you're happy to get rid of, you know, you want to give that as much time as possible for a bid to come in. So it's no use say Tom Cleverley for instance. You probably could have bought him for between 8 and 10 million from July the 1st.
Yeah.
Manchester United still hadn't had a bid on September the 1st. 3 o'clock or something that they were pleased with. Aston Villa had a bid accepted in the end of about £8 million. But clubs like Everton, say, will leave it that late because on the off chance that United won him off their books by 11 o'clock that night. So are you going to go in and spend that money then, or will you wait as the hours draw towards a close where a club might, people call it blink first now, don't they, where a club might decide, you know what, it's better for us to get this person off our wage bill. Players also have given themselves a couple of weeks to try and break into the first team. Maybe it hasn't happened, or they've not been happy how it's gone and think, you know what, I will go and move to X, Y or Z now rather than sit here until January because, you know, my options are going to be shortened down. So it creates this kind of last 12-hour frenzy when you look back and think, well, you've basically had 2 or 3 months to do this plan, and then you're leaving it until 3 hours before the end of the window.
I find it interesting that clubs like Chelsea and Man City didn't do any business on the last day, and I think that shows not only the financial pulling power they've got, but also in the background they've got people obviously working very hard to get deals done early on and get the players in that they want. And obviously
Chelsea did manage to get 26 players out on loan.
Yeah, but they don't really care about that. That's a completely different story. But that does show that the clubs that have got money and also got good teams in the background get the work done when it needs to be done.
It's planning, isn't it? You know, your transfer window activity needs to be carefully planned. It's great there's that kind of wanting and needing as a fan almost on that last day. And I suppose some managers switching, thinking, have we got enough to get us through to January? Let's go and take him or him. As fans, we're never satisfied, are we? If Everton would have signed 2 players on deadline day, we'd have still wanted a third. If we'd have got 2 done by 7, we'd be going, is there any more by 11? Because that creates this kind of excitement into your club, this new freshness. But when the dust settles and you actually look at the business that's being done, particularly by our club, I think, okay, people might have wanted another defender or whatever, but at the end of the day, I think Everton have done quite well.
Do you think, when we look at Everton, that what happened was, it looked like we were all pretty fine with what we'd done over the summer, which we'll come on to, but we looked like we were pretty good, but then obviously there's been a reaction to the Chelsea game, and suddenly people have gone, actually, we do need a new centre defender, we do need a backup right back, we need another centre midfielder, whatever it may be. It's been a knee-jerk reaction coming from the first 3 games rather than the master plan in terms of what we wanted at the beginning of the summer.
I think it's a bit of both. I think there has been, obviously, you concede 6 goals at home and a game that you play very well in. Obviously that's going to raise all kinds of questions. I've got to be fair to some people. People I've spoken to have talked about they feel as though Everton have needed a new centre half, you know, play possibly all summer, and they kind of feel, I suppose, justified by the performance of the weekend and this clamour to try and get a centre half in. But I think if you're actually, the way I kind of look at it, and I'd have loved Everton to bring 2 or 3 the other day. I'd have loved Everton to get Cleverley, and I've been one of his biggest critics, but I just think in terms of squad and legs and things like that, it's great to have these boosts in. But I think when you look at the squad as a whole, I think Roberto Martinez, at the end of the day, he's the man who makes the decisions. But we've got Phil Jagielka, we've got Sylvain Distin, we've got John Stones, we've got Antoine Alcaraz, whether you like him or you don't. We've also got Tyus Browning. He's also brought in Brendan Galloway. So there's 6 lads who can play centre half straight away. Yeah. Gareth Barry can drop in there. Bezic, I believe, can play there. So Roberto Martinez would sit here and go, okay, you want us to buy a centre half, but we've got between 4 and 6 in the current squad. So, you know, why should we go and take a chance on some of the names mentioned? Now, you know, I personally believe that's the next part of his philosophy that needs rebuilding. It was an area I was concerned about when he was the Wigan manager and he was coming to Everton, was the defence. But we had the 3rd best defence in the league last year. Now, we still had that in May, and we're only in September. Now, okay, we've started the season really, really poorly, but, you know, it is probably a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction to say, go and get 2 new centre-halves in because we've conceded 6 at the weekend. And I think the transfer window accelerates that, and it's probably another reason why we'd all be happier, I think, if it shut the day before the season began.
Well, the day itself, it was pretty quiet early on. I mean, there was a lot of speculation Everton going to bring someone in. Most fans thought David Hennon would be sure to come in, and then as the day went on, the rumours started growing a little bit about Cleverley. Pretty much towards the end of the day, he was trying to hold out for a move to Everton. It looks like Everton may have gone to Manchester United and spoke to him and asked him what the valuation was, and basically have left it at that, because with only a year left of his contract, it would seem quite foolish to step in and pay 8 million for a player that, you know, in 6 months you can basically sign and you can have him in the club within a year.
Definitely. I mean, you know, we're led to believe, there's been different reports, hasn't there? There's been reports that Everton bid for him, and, you know, other reports that it was a loan deal. I think it was a loan deal. I think if you're at Aston Villa, I think you'd be, or Manchester United, you'd be very frustrated, because Villa had a bid accepted for him, and he was actually at Villa's training ground, and he up and left to come to Everton, or to try and force a move through to Everton on loan, which kind of tells you Tom Cleverley's feelings about where he wants to be playing his football. And you can fully understand why Everton have said, well, you know, we'll take him on loan because we want him on loan. We'll pay you whatever the loan fee is. It's obviously a fraction of the permanent deal. And I think it's been a case of Everton and the player sat tight to see whether Manchester United would agree to the deal. And obviously that hasn't happened, and he's somehow ended up at Aston Villa on loan. But there's been another development now, hasn't there, where Manchester United said they can actually review the deal in January now and accept deals from other clubs to take him in January. So he has or he hasn't signed on a year's
which I can't quite understand, because if I'm led to believe you can't play for 3 teams within a year. So that's something that I don't know, that will have to be looked at. I'm not sure the whole, but
it
wouldn't
can sign a pre-con. Well, actually, he can't.
Not officially.
A European team.
But it wouldn't surprise me if come next July we see him in an Everton shirt. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Moving on to the David Henham one, which is slightly more complicated. This is a player that's been after club training for the best part of 6 weeks. Most of the pre-season. I think when Lukaku was signed, a lot of people thought he was going to be announced that day in like a double signing because his agent was at the ground with Lukaku in Finch Farm, and that never happened. But he continued to train. The rumours of a £1.5 million bid being rejected because they wanted £3 million for the player, and then on final day of the deadline, deadline date, it comes out that he's moved to Olympiacos. He's broke out of his contract at Anderlecht and is signed for Olympiacos, which left a lot of us moaning and groaning about the situation. And then we find out there's a possibility could come to Everton, and then the next day it's confirmed that he has signed for Everton on a year's loan. Very, very strange set of circumstances.
Not really much to say, is there?
Well, we're led to believe it's something to do with third-party ownership, but past that we don't really know. But there are complications, and that's all we can say about it legally. But it's a strange one. But Martinez has got the player that he wanted, and what you would think is, why would you bring a player in for a year that basically you're training up for someone else's club? We'll leave it there.
That's what's happening.
We'll leave it there. Why would you do that? But that's where we'll leave it. Looking at the whole of the window, it was quite slow at first. There was a bit of a wait to get the first player in. Mohamed Besic took a while, but we started it off with Gareth Barry. Literally the day Roberto Martinez come back from Brazil, the deal was done. That was out of the way. Good player that we all wanted. We were a little bit unsure whether he would sign because in 3 years, I'm sure it suits everyone, and it seems to have suited everyone so far. Then Mohamed Besic was getting room. We were in negotiations, and negotiations took the best part of 2 weeks again, to do with other clubs, agents. That deal was done. In the meantime, we brought in Brendan Galloway, brought in Sam Bain, obviously Roberto Martin fancy bringing in players for the future as well to get that overlap, and then obviously the big one, Romelu Lukaku, 28 million.
Fantastic, wasn't it? Fantastic once it started. I think the thing with the dealings up to that point was we needed Gareth Barry. We all wanted him. People and ahh'd over length of contract and everything else, but I think everybody agreed he'd been really, really important to us last season, and we got him in. That was a big thing for us to get in. Mohamed Besic looked very good in the World Cup, in a couple of games. Didn't have the greatest of debuts at the weekend, but looks like he's going to be a good player for us, young, hungry. Galloway, lots of good reports about Brendan Galloway. Actually heard Milton Keynes' Don's owner talking on the radio last week before he played Manchester United, saying how highly rated Galloway was and how they would have liked him to have had another 12 months there, but they felt as though he would be in the Everton first team within 12 months, and then that was backed up at the weekend by the MK Dons manager, Carl Robinson, who said he's going to be a superstar at centre-half and an ideal replacement for Distan. So really, really good kind of recommendations for Galloway there. Sam Bain, know a little bit less about, but at least...
But he's been scoring goals already.
He's scored goals and has done okay play for the Ireland under-21s as well. So, good blend again from Martinez, and it all comes down to I think this is what the real shift has been in between his philosophy and David Moyes' philosophy, in terms of David Moyes is very much the here and now with these 12 or 14 players. Roberto Martinez is looking a little bit longer term, trying to build that team.
Even when David Moyes used to sign players, young players, they just disappeared. Some of them you'd never see again. But what...
João Silva.
Well, but what we're seeing with Roberto Martinez from the start is that when players sign, young players, and we're told they're for the future, okay, John Stones wasn't one of his players, but he wants them in there straight away. And when he says, when you say Brendan Galloway could be in the first team within 12 months, he probably will be. Same with David Henham, we've already mentioned. There's talk that he could be within the first team in the second half of the season. David Moyes simply didn't do that. If they were both for the youth setup, they stayed in the youth setup, and that's where a lot of them are being lost, and that's where that gap we spoke about before with the 18 to 21-year-olds, so many players have gone missing. So that's really encouraging that when we are buying these players, you don't automatically go, oh, we're not going to see him for 3 years. There is a feeling that you will see these players quite soon, so that's really encouraging. Obviously, Christian Atsu was brought in as well from Chelsea. We haven't seen much of him so far. We hope to see a lot more of him once the international break's gone and we see all these games coming ahead. Yeah. And obviously, Samuel Eto'o, who had a fantastic first 20-minute cameo against Chelsea at the weekend. So if you look at all those players, it's been fantastic. I think, especially when you look at the outgoings as well, you know, Velios, my guy Gay, obviously Deulofeu, who's gone back to Barcelona. From that point of view, we haven't lost anyone of any.
Shane Duffy.
Yeah, Shane Duffy, yeah, who went at the weekend as well. But we haven't lost anyone of any particular standing.
Well, that's what we think, but what about you? We asked earlier on our Twitter account, ToffeeTV1, if you thought we'd had a good transfer window or not.
So Dave says, investments in quality players like Lukaku and Eto'o have improved our team and profile. Good mix of youth, experience bought. Our last game was colouring people's views on what's been an excellent transfer window for us. New players, new contracts, #done. Blue Zippy 75, exciting and disappointing at the same time. Have competed with top 6 for Lukaku, but not strengthened enough to compete in all comps. Will Whitty says, good window overall, but we need a bigger squad to strengthen in Europe. It could have gone better. Playing in Blue says, could have bought 1 or 2 more, but overall very good. Might need youth to step up at times. Liam Pigeon says, good business done, but still feel a couple light, especially with Pienaar out, and we need centre-back cover for Alcaraz. Could have done with a right-back cover too, as he wants Stones in the middle. Kenny Massey says, not great considering Roberto Martinez said we needed 6 in. Raldo says it was all about planning, not panicking, good business. And Stephen Taylor says, good to get the loan players of last season in permanently, but would still like to see a new centre-half in. I think there's a lot of the same sentiments there. We did well, but people just want us to buy more players, which is always the case, isn't it?
Definitely. I mean, we wanted a couple more, didn't we? To do more videos to talk about, but no, I think overall we've done well. Yes, there was room for probably another centre half, maybe another centre forward. But I think Everton have done well. It's a progressive thing now, and remember, this window is only for 4 months. There's the January one around the corner, and then who knows? You bring them in then, and that carries you forward.
And he'll know his targets. He'll know who's available. He'll know what money he's got. And we go back to the last January when we sold a couple of players, got rid of Jelavic, and he didn't panic. He knew who he wanted. That was Romelu Lukaku, and he waited and got him. Could be the same now. He knows who he wants, and that'll be the tail end of the season where we need players. So we'll wait and see what we got. If he feels we've got enough, then we've got enough. The other side of it is, of course, the wages. You've got to look at the wages and FFP and the self-imposed wage thing that the Premier League have got going on. That's got to be considered because we just don't know the finer points.
And the club works within restrictions, doesn't it? They know the boundaries they work, and he knows it. I mean, there's some cracking financial experts on social media sites that tell you Everton have got X amount of million still unspent, but obviously with wages and everything else, bonuses, new contracts for manager, Barkley, Stones, they're preparing one for McCarthy. It all adds up, and Romelu Lukaku. So Everton have spent some money. Yes, we want to see them spend more, but it's part of the plan, and we need players for the whole season, not just for these first 3 or 4 months. And like you quite rightly say, he'll be knowing what he needs in January.
And the other side of it as well is, if you do bring players on the last day, they go away international weekend for the weekend, come back, and then we've got a couple of days to prepare. This way, we've got them all in, and they all know what the manager wants for that next game, which is going to be massive at West Brom.
And if Eto'o and Atsu would have been left until deadline day, we'd have been popping champagne corks, and we'd have all been celebrating because we'd have got another couple over the line. Yeah, we got them in the week before it finished. That shouldn't diminish the fact that, in general, it's been quite a good... The calibre of player... Yeah, okay, we could have done with 2 or 3 more, but the calibre's been very good.
Yeah, good stuff. Right.
And the season can now actually start. No more windows.
Right, this has been Toffee TV with the Bleacher Report Team Stream app from Baz and Ped for Toffee TV. We'll see you soon.